so many people on social media was celebrating him and celebrating that he was killed and saying, "Oh, this guy, what a knucklehead. He said Martin Luther King was a bad man. He said that the Civil Rights Act should have never been passed in 1964. He said that black people were better off as slaves." There is no stopping hate in this world. No matter how much you write on social media, you're not going to stop it. Everyone has the right to an opinion. Now, really, that opinion is going to have after effects because, as much as someone has a right to their opinion, the other person listening to that opinion who does not agree with it, they have the right to their counter opinion. If people are going to have an opinion and we can't give that opinion any merit because we don't agree with it, so be it. Let's just not listen to the opinion. The whole point that I'm making with this is go where you're celebrated. All right, so since the podcast is on hiatus and season two will start October 3rd, I thought that I would just kind of deliver a nice, important message to my followers, fans, supporters, enemies, whoever. I think this is very important to talk about, okay? So, I would have to say that all of us we go through things. We suffer, we have problems, we have issues, we start to doubt ourselves, we have insecurities, we sometimes don't think we can make it through. And I'm a ringleader at that, believe it or not. I'm not always rainbow and sunshine, but it's important for us to understand that in times of trouble, in times of despair, frustration, anger, hostility, tragedy, it's always wonderful to go to the Lord in prayer. I don't know what your beliefs are, but my beliefs are strongly and firmly with God. We always need to go to the Lord in prayer during good times and bad times. Go to the Lord when everything is going great. Don't just go to him when you need something. This is something I learned as a child from my grandmother, and it resonates more and more today. The more time goes by, go to the Lord in prayer. So God is going to be the facilitator of everything. But one thing I would also say is that with all the problems and struggles that we have, and all of the verbal and physical beatdowns and psychological beatdowns that we often receive in some way, shape, or form, it's important to be able to remember that we don't tolerate something that doesn't serve us, something that doesn't feed our souls, if that makes sense. And I think about, for example, my wife. My wife, she is as wonderful as it gets, right? And I'm not saying that just because she's my wife. I'm saying it because she's also a person who cares so much about people, really to a fault. Her heart is bigger than the planet. And she was doing home health care, and her patient died um, a few weeks ago. And she has been really down because she cared a great deal about him. For sure, she cared more about him than the majority of his family. And it's been a struggle with her. So she's been having her very challenging and trying moments. I've been there for as much as I could. And, she credits me with that, but I just want her to feel better. I have my own things that drag me down. I feel sad. I feel sorrow. I feel hopelessness sometimes, believe it or not. Just spitting the dirty truth. Sometimes I feel like that I'm worthless. Sometimes I feel like that I'm not going to be the person that I ultimately want to be. Sometimes I feel that I am my own biggest hurdle, and that's common. But one thing I want to say is that trouble don't last always, and that's an exact quote from my grandmother. And I believe firmly in the power of prayer. Prayer changes things. But yesterday there was something that happened in our country. And if you're watching this after September 11th, 2025, um, just know that this is being aired or being filmed on September 11th, 2025. Um, and before I get to what happened yesterday, but today is the 24th anniversary of 9/11. That was a cataclysmic, tragic situation if there was ever a cataclysmic, tragic situation to be had. It was definitely that day. And we mourn everyone who was affected by it, directly or indirectly. But something happened yesterday, September 10th, 2025, and it was about a guy named Charlie Kirk. And I'm going to go into sharing because I want to be able to talk about this in detail. Okay, so Charlie Kirk. This is a guy that I had never heard of before. And that might sound really crazy. Now, I probably heard about him in passing, but yesterday it was said that he was assassinated. First, he was shot, then he was assassinated. And his name didn't ring a bell to me, but everybody in the world seems to know who this guy is. So, in the 26, 27 hours since he was assassinated, I've learned a great deal about this guy. So you see here it says Charlie Kirk, a prominent conservative activist and Trump ally, dies after shooting at Utah campus event. And the very first paragraph, Charlie Kirk, a conservative political activist and co-founder of Turning Point USA, has died after being shot at an event at Utah Valley University. President Trump wrote on his Truth Social platform. He was 31. And then it goes on to say, as Trump remade the Republican Party, Kirk embodied the party's newfound populist conservatism in the social media age. Trump has credited Kirk with galvanizing and mobilizing the youth vote for him. Now, so many people have had so many reactions, but it's really just been two. It's been extreme sadness and grief, or celebration and cheering for this young man who was killed. What I would say to all of that is, yes, from everything that I saw, this guy, his voice rang very divisively to a segment of the world. So you can say he was divisive. You can also say that he was a truth teller. You can say, depending on your side of the coin, you're going to call him whatever you're going to call him. It doesn't really matter to me. All I know is that this guy was a debater extraordinaire, and he went toe to toe with pretty much everybody. He was nonviolent, but his words could incite violence. And I'm not saying that his words brought him to his demise, but things like that, you can't really say one way or another is the definitive thing. But I'm not here to talk about that. What I'm here to talk about is the fact of so many people on social media was celebrating him and celebrating that he was killed and saying, "Oh, this guy, what a knucklehead. He said Martin Luther King was a bad man. He said that the Civil Rights Act should have never been passed in 1964. He said that black people were better off as slaves." Now, again, I'm a person who never heard of this guy before, so I never heard of him saying any of those things. But I'm sure he said them if people are saying that he said them. I'm not here to argue that. What I'm looking at is those are some very strong words, words that would absolutely upset me. And I don't like whenever anyone comes off as racist, whether it's a black person being anti-white or a white person being anti-black, or any other nationality being against Chinese people, Mexicans. Now, me, I'm the kind of person that has the sense of humor to make fun of any and everybody, including myself. I love jokes about black people. I love jokes about white people, but I don't like the real sharpness of real hate from people. I don't like that. But there is no stopping it. There is no stopping hate in this world. No matter how much you write on social media, you're not going to stop it. Everyone has the right to an opinion. Now, really, that opinion is going to have after effects because, as much as someone has a right to their opinion, the other person listening to that opinion who does not agree with it, they have the right to their counter opinion. And to be honest with you, I need to make it very clear that I'm not on anybody's side with this, but I don't want to just have a knee-jerk reaction about a white man talking down on black people just because I'm black. I don't even want to be that way if the tables were turned. What I will say is that his views, I don't like his views, but I respect him being honest. Were his views very, very divisive? Were they very, very inflammatory? Did they have the power to incite violence at black people? Yeah, definitely. But when I look at it, what are we going to do? He didn't deserve to die. He didn't deserve to be shot at. Now, you can say his mouth got him in trouble. I look at it this way. If people are going to have an opinion and we can't give that opinion any merit because we don't agree with it, so be it. Let's just not listen to the opinion. If we don't want to debate the person, or if we can't, let's just stay away from that person. Let's stay away from that. My wife watches TikTok videos all the time, and they often talk about it's like black women talk about, yeah, those white women, they ain't got no right to have our hairstyle. They're taking our hairstyle, they're taking our men and all that kind of stuff. And she listens to it and watches it, and she says that she does it because it's interesting and fascinating, and she gets so upset. And she'll often leave comments. And I feel like this when they talk about, oh, it's our hair, is our, listen, I understand. I understand everybody's point of view. I understand how, as a black woman, you may specifically feel like that you have every right to have this hairstyle and no one else can have it that's not black. But I can also understand how a white person can say, well, black person, don't go eat at a Chinese restaurant or a Mexican restaurant or an Italian restaurant because that's not meant for you. I don't personally believe that a hairstyle is for anybody. Now, I will say, oh, look, she's got the T-Boz haircut. Oh, she's got the Diana Ross hairstyle. But I'm one of those people that's live and let live. Okay. The whole point that I'm making with this is go where you're celebrated. So for a guy like Charlie Kirk, he was celebrated and still is and will forever be celebrated in the Republican Party and amongst all conservatives. He will be that guy. And no one can make anyone feel otherwise. And then there's going to be people that denounce him and think that he's the devil incarnate, and that's going to be their viewpoint. So be it. He doesn't have to come around you, even if he was still alive. Go where you're celebrated. Me as a black man dating white women and now married to a white woman, it's going to be a whole lot of people that don't like that. I guarantee there's already people that's in our lives that don't agree with it, don't approve of it, think that I'm the worst person ever. There are people that'll look at me and say, "Oh, Deante, look at him. He's a porker. He's a cow." I don't like the fact that he's a cow. I don't like the fact that he's black. I don't like the fact that he has half white daughters. There's going to be people in this world that's going to have problems with everything that you do. So go where you're celebrated. If I don't want to hear Charlie Kirk's his info or anything like that, I'm not going to watch his videos. I'm not going to go to his rallies. I can stay away from that. Think about what I said when I first opened this. I said, I never heard of Charlie Kirk. So therefore, whatever his views were, good or bad, he was completely off my radar. I was oblivious to this guy. And if I ever did see him, which I'm sure at some point I did because I did watch the RNC last year, but I have no recollection of seeing this guy. But understand that it absolutely positively does not show up on my radar. I just found out about him yesterday. So it's easy to go where you're celebrated and stay away from where you are not celebrated. Look at this right here. This is my Instagram account. And when I look at this, I see a lot of people that's with me in these pictures. My great friend Wayne Dawson, my wife, Billy Joe. I see Lavina Fleming. I see Wayne and Miss Laverne. I see more of myself and my wife. I see so many pictures of myself and my wife. I see Dr. Yvonne Pointer. I see more Wayne Dawson. I see so many people. I see my friend Jermaine, who I've been friends with since we were 2 years old. He's more like a brother to me. This woman, Angela, she's become a nice friend. Here's my mom. That's us. This is a post where I went to the party at my aunt's house. So when I look at these, well, these are some other things. That was something different. Um, but when I look at those different pictures, these are the people that celebrate me, and I also celebrate them. So why would I actively go into situations or even listen to situations where I know I'm not going to be celebrated? It's like I just want to argue. But no, I don't want to argue. This guy, Corey Wallace, I met this guy when I was in fourth grade. He's bought every single book that I've written, and that's 9 at this moment, and he's reviewed each one of them. He celebrates me. Look at this. This is the 7th book I read from Deante. He always has great messages, explains in his own unique way. That's what I'm saying. I look at all these different pictures, and this is a picture the day that we got married. The people that I invited, that was just a small group of people, and they were people that I knew that were going to celebrate us. So why would I do anything other than that? These are all people that celebrate me. I celebrate them. So when we go back and we look at Charlie Kirk, I don't have anything negative to say about him. I was a guy who created a show called A Date with Deante in 2008, and it was a very controversial reality show. And I spoke the dirty truth. While I was speaking the dirty truth, I was evaluating people that I was interviewing. And most of the time, it was young ladies who were promiscuous. And I would say, oh, listen, look at this promiscuous tramp. How do you feel about being a promiscuous tramp? And I said a lot of very direct things like that. It wasn't trying to be critical, it was just what I saw. It was my opinion. And I received death threats when I was doing that show. It went 6 seasons, and in season 3, it started to get really popular locally, and people were not liking my viewpoints on these people that I was interviewing. And I put myself out there to be open to people to attack my viewpoints. So there's that part of it. But we'll never stop people from voicing their opinion, their point of view, their perspective, their worldview. Yeah, you may have killed Charlie Kirk, but you didn't kill his ideals. It's just going to transfer to someone else. I don't like hearing any of that, but I have the right to not listen to it. I don't have to make that my environment. We all have the power to create our own community. And I do when I create my community, my loved ones, my inner circle. The people that I talk to, they lift me up mentally and psychologically. They advise me. They make me better. They make me laugh. We have great conversation together and we do things together. We hang out. We laugh together. We reminisce together. All these great things. So it's just like the evil in this world does not exist, but I know we're always surrounded by it. I don't have to subscribe to it. It's just like when you have BET or something like that. You don't have to subscribe to BET or MTV or Stars. But me and my wife, we are an interracial couple. And this right here is called white supremacy. They have books, they have classes, they have so many doctrines about white supremacy. And this world that we live in now feels more and more racial than it ever has. And that's saying a lot given the fact that the 1960s was a completely different time, but the KKK is a real thing. I try to have a sense of humor about everything. That's why I did a sketch where I played the role of a white supremacist named Dwight Powers. And that might sound crazy. This picture right here, that's a white supremacist guy that I created. His name is Dwight Powers. He's supposedly an elderly white man. Okay. And to me, there's humor in people feeling like, well, this person is not worthy of my time because they're not the right color. They're not the correct race. That's humorous to me. It's also sad and tragic, but that's their opinion. So go where you're celebrated. I promise you, your life will be so much better. We don't have to be around these types of things. I don't like being around any type of people where it's too many of those types of people unless they are positive, optimistic, self-aware, that kind of thing. I don't want to be around too many white people. I don't want to be around too many black people. I don't want to be around too many ignorant people. I don't want that. I like diversity. Now, someone's opinion can be very vitriolic. It can be unreasonable or irrational. But that's only to the person who doesn't feel that way. The person who feels the way they feel about that opinion, it's going to feel like perfection. Like the whole DEI thing, I never understood DEI, why people want to get rid of it. But once I thought about it, I said, I wouldn't want to be hired strictly on the merits of having to be a quota having to be met, and I just happen to be a black guy. Hey, let's hire this black guy. I've actually been invited to do speaking engagements because I was black, and it would be like an all white situation. That sort of feels small. Now, yeah, I know there's more to it with DEI, but the gist of it, me personally, that's just me personally. But if someone has a problem with them eliminating DEI, I don't have a problem with you having a problem with that. I'm just saying I'm not going to have a big problem with everything that comes across the world because I have the ability, just like you do, to customize my environment. There was a period of time, several years back, where I lived in a household with people that was not my household. They were very kind, very friendly, big-hearted, but they were extraordinarily negative. And I don't do well in negative environments for a long period of time. Well, I was in that negative environment for over a year, and that was like 10 years. Even with all of their big-heartedness and their grace and things like that, just their natural personality was negative. And I used to complain, why do they got to be so negative? Why do they got to be so negative? And then I said, well, the problem is not them being negative. The problem is my proximity to it. I should be somewhere else because they are going to be who they are, period. And I'm not going to be able to change that. But what I can change is my proximity to it, my location to the negativity. And that's what I did. And I took drastic measures because I ended up going and moving into a homeless shelter. And that, believe it or not, was a better alternative. So keep God close, go to God, and also go where you're celebrated.